If you become pregnant as a teenager, will you blame the innocent child for the mistake or will you blame yourself? Well, let's find out together in this story of Ifeoma. In a small bustling town in southeastern Nigeria, Ifeoma lives with a strict hardworking mother and two younger siblings. Ifeoma is a bright and beautiful girl, often the center of attention at school. Her teachers praise her for her intelligence, and her friends admire her beauty and charm. But despite her achievements, Ifeoma feels a deep sense of loneliness. Her mother, tough and unyielding, a typical African mother that rarely shows affection. Mama Ifeoma's primary concern is ensuring that her children excel in school and maintain the family's reputation. Ifeoma often wishes her mother were more loving, but she dares not voice out these feelings. One day, while walking home from school, Ifeoma encounters Emeka, a handsome boy from a neighboring village. Emeka is known for his charm and smooth-talking nature. He begins to walk Ifeoma home every day after school, showering her with compliments and making her feel special. For the first time, Ifeoma feels truly seen and valued. She begins to dream of a future with Emeka, who does not have that high school sweetheart, believing that their love can conquer any obstacle. Despite her mother's warning about boys and the importance of focusing on her education, Ifeoma continues to see Emeka in secret and they began to do the do, if you know what I mean. Few months into their relationship, Ifeoma noticed changes in her body. Her once regular period have stopped, and she began to feel nauseous in the mornings. She confides in her best friend Chidinma, who suggests she might be pregnant. Panic sets in as Ifeoma buys a pregnancy test, hoping that this is a false alarm. But when the test confirms her fears, Ifeoma feels her world crashing around her. She is only 16 with her entire future ahead of her. How can she tell her mother, who has sacrificed so much for her? With trembling hands, Ifeoma meets Emeka after school and tells him about the pregnancy. Expecting him to comfort her, she is instead met with cold indifference. The same Emeka who once promised her the world. Ifeoma, I am a student myself. I have a future ahead of me. I cannot disappoint my parents. Please get rid of the baby. Devastated, Ifeoma pleads with him to reconsider. Ifeoma had already dreamed about this perfect life together with Emeka. Can we blame her? No, of course. She is only a teenager and every teenager has this delusion in their head. Terrified, Ifeoma eventually confesses to her mother. Mama Ifeoma's reaction is explosive. As expected, she lashes out at Ifeoma, calling her foolish and irresponsible. In a fit of rage, she threatened to disown Ifeoma and send her away in disgrace. But beneath her anger, as a mother, Mama Ifeoma is also deeply hurt. She had high hopes for Ifeoma's future, and now those dreams seem to shatter. It was just a matter of time for the community to find out about Ifeoma's pregnancy. The shame only adds to the burden Ifeoma carries. She would lock herself indoor because of the societal stigma. She feels like a prisoner in her own home, constantly reminded of her mistake. 9 months later, Ifeoma goes into labor. The experience is traumatic and painful, with Ifeoma barely surviving the ordeal. When the baby girl is finally born, Ifeoma is too exhausted to feel any joy. As the nurse hands her the baby, Ifeoma notices her baby's plump appearance. She is shocked and disappointed. The baby looks nothing like herself or Emeka. Few days later, the baby is named Kamsi, which means just as I asked for in Igbo. But Ifeoma knows deep down that this is not what she asked for. Instead of a bundle of joy, she feels like she's been handed a burden she cannot bear. Her baby is plump and oversized. As Kamsi grows, her chubby appearance becomes more pronounced. She inherits the gene of Emeka's mother, a woman known in the community for her large stature. This only deepens Ifeoma's resentment, as she sees in Kamsi the physical reminder of a man who abandoned her, and instead of her having a beautiful baby girl as she has envisioned, she was left with an horrible baby. Mama Ifeoma, on the other hand, was cold to Kamsi, her granddaughter. She sees her as a constant reminder of Ifeoma's failure. Ifeoma begins to distance herself emotionally from her daughter. She barely cared for her. The only time she interacts with Kamsi is to scold her or reprimand her, always with a harsh tone. Kamsi grows up in a world filled with rejection. At school, she is often left out of games and activities because of her size. The other children tease her mercilessly, calling her names like Orobo, Fati, and Agbala, meaning useless girl, making fun of her round cheek and large body. Even the teachers, who are supposed to protect her, often ignore the bullying or subtly encourage it by making comments about her weight. At home, things are no better. Ifeoma keeps Kamsi hidden from visitors, embarrassed by her daughter's appearance. When family member comes over, Kamsi is sent to her room, away from prying eyes. Ifeoma dresses her in oversized clothes to hide her shape, further deepening Kamsi's feelings of shame and inadequacy. Despite the lack of love and support, Kamsi finds solace in her studies. She is exceptionally bright, often scoring the highest mark in her class, but even her academic achievements did not shield her from harsh words and cruel treatment. The other children are jealous of her intelligence and continue to bully her, telling her that no one will ever love a fat, ugly girl, no matter how smart she is. Kamsi's teachers praise her for her intelligence, but they too see her as nothing more than a smart, fat, horrible girl. No one takes the time to understand the pain she carries inside. Ifeoma's hatred for her own daughter grew even more when she kept having failed relationships as a result of her being a single mother. Some would go as far as saying, "I would have even considered dating you if only the daughter you have is beautiful. If I end up marrying you, maybe this is the kind of children you will be giving me I don't want." Ifeoma becomes more frustrated and she lashes out at Kamsi for no reason. When Kamsi turns 7 years old, Ifeoma marries a wealthy man called Inamdi, who loves her deeply. They have 2 beautiful children, Chinenlo and Adeize. Finally, for Ifeoma, she got what she has always wanted in Kamsi. Slim baby girls, beautiful and adored by everyone. With Ifeoma's new life, her resentment toward Kamsi only deepens. She showers Chinelo and Adeize with love and affection, while Kamsi is left in the background, a shadow in her own home. Ifeoma's new husband is kind to Kamsi, but he is often away on business trips, leaving Ifeoma to control the household. As Chinelo and Adeize grew, Ifeoma constantly compares them to Kamsi. She often tells Kamsi that she will never be as beautiful or as successful as her sisters. She criticizes everything about Kamsi, from her weight to the way she walks and talks. "Look at Chinelo," Ifeoma would say. "She is everything you could never be. Why can't you be more like her? You are just like your useless father." These words cut Kamsi deeply, but she keeps her pain hidden, burying it beneath her studies. She becomes more withdrawn, speaking less and less, as she learns that nothing she does will ever be good enough for her mother. One day, Ifeoma finds Kamsi crying in her room after a particularly harsh bullying incident at school. Instead of comforting her, Ifeoma scolds her for being weak. "Why are you crying? You should be used to it by now. If you weren't so fat, they wouldn't tease you so much." This is the moment Kamsi realized that she is truly alone. The mother who should have protected her is her biggest bully. From that day on, Kamsi resolves to become successful despite her mother's cruelty. She buries herself in her studies, determined to escape her life in Nigeria and find a place where she is valued. At 18, Kamsi's hard work pays off. She is awarded a full scholarship to study medicine abroad. When the letter arrives, Ifeoma barely reacts. She dismisses it as another of Kamsi's attempts to seek attention. But Kamsi is determined to leave. She packs a bag and bids her half-sisters farewell. Her mother, however, does not even see her off to the airport. Do you think that Kamsi has finally escaped from bullying? Well, let's find out together. As the plane takes off, Kamsi feels a mix of relief and sadness. She is finally free from her mother's harsh word, but the wounds of her childhood remain. In the new country, she works harder than ever, eventually becoming a successful medical doctor. Years pass and Kamsi, now 27 years old, is a well-respected doctor in a foreign country. She has built a life for herself, far away from the pain of her childhood. Although she is successful, Kamsi still battles with low self-esteem. Kamsi decided to come back to Nigeria and start her own practice. One evening, while on duty at the hospital, Kamsi is called to the emergency room for an urgent case. There had been a fire outbreak in the residential area, and the victims are being rushed in. As she prepares to meet the patient, she feels a strange sense of unease, but shakes it off, focusing on her duties. When the ambulance arrives, Kamsi's world turned upside down. The victims are her mother, Ifeoma, and her two half-siblings, Chinelo and Adeize. They are badly injured, their faces and bodies scarred from the fire. Kamsi felt a wave of emotion, shock, anger, pity, and an old-buried pain rising from the surface. If you were Kamsi in this situation, would you help them? Kamsi attended to her mother and sister with the utmost professionalism. Upon realizing that Kamsi is the doctor treating her, Ifeoma's eyes filled with tears. She sees the daughter she once rejected now standing before her as a successful woman. "Is this really you, Kamsi?" Ifeoma asked, her voice trembling. "You have become a doctor?" Kamsi nods positively, keeping her emotions in check. "Yes, Mama, I have worked hard to get here." In that moment, Ifeoma is overwhelmed by guilt. She realized how wrong she was to treat Kamsi so cruelly. How she let her bitterness and shame overshadow the love she should have shown Kamsi, given that she was her firstborn. She apologized, her voice weak but sincere. "I am sorry, Kamsi. I failed you as a mother. Can you ever forgive me?" If you were Kamsi in this position, would you accept the apology or would you walk out of the room? Moral of this story: being a teenage mother does not excuse poor parenting. If you are old enough to make adult choices, you are also old enough to face the consequences with care and responsibilities. If you're matured enough to engage in adult action, you should also be matured enough to take responsibilities. Age does not excuse poor choices in motherhood. Responsibilities comes with the decisions we make.